So when I first ever came up with this brand, it was January 2023, and I'd been thinking about it for a long period of time. I felt like I was dancing around the edge of it. I'd launched my online program, Project Level Up, about a year and a half before. I was happy to be in the online space, but I knew that brand didn't represent what I was all about. And that's where Ready for Anything came from, because that's what I was all about. It was about this person that was about fast-paced living, hybrid performance, taking on huge challenges and huge feats. And I built it into something that I was incredibly proud of. But in late 2025, there was a void I started to feel inside of me that felt very, very similar to the void that I felt when I had to build Ready for Anything. In this video today, I'm going to break through the entire journey of this program, what I've really went through, the change that I went through, and how my mission has shifted, and why that matters about the direction that this company's heading in now. But if you are new here, make sure you've hit subscribe to the channel. And I'm the founder of Ready for Anything, a coaching program for high performers, entrepreneurs, execs, anyone that's in charge, anyone that's responsible for other people, and they want to be a better leader. They want to take it into every other part of their life, their relationships, who they are as a boss, who they are as a friend, and most importantly, like how they feel within themselves, how connected they are to themselves. So make sure you've done me a massive favor, hit subscribe, and let's get stuck into it today. Everyone thinks that life is going to get to this point where you're going to get into your big yacht, where you're in that big massive area in the center, you've got all the console, you've got the full crew there, it's smooth sailing, it's luxury, it's beautiful. Life is actually like a canoe. You're ripping it down the rapids and sometimes it's going to flip over. The biggest delusion is believing that you're going to get to a point where you're in this yacht. The yacht doesn't exist. It's not there. And so many folk get to this point of pain in their life and they tolerate it and they stay in it. And that's where unfulfillment comes from, because people do this in their health. They do it in their career, they do it in relationships, and they just tolerate it until things get worse. But the question you need to be asking yourself is, what is the worst case scenario if I don't do anything about this? Because it feels safe, because what you've built is familiar. And for me, I have went through this change so many times, but this one was really different because in all of those reinventions of myself, fitness was at the core of it. I was always a health and fitness coach, even when I was a personal trainer to an online coach, when I was an online coach to a hybrid coach, even when I started actually making it more about personal development, fitness was always the thing at the top. But what began to happen is in the journey of developing this brand and turning it into what I turned it into, fitness is actually the thing that's getting in the very way of the work I want to do and Ailey wants to do to help people, because you can't get life-changing results for someone if you're not talking to them about their life. Now, for 50% of our roster, yeah, we were helping them with compete, push themselves, test themselves, build a strong body, get super fit, but we were also talking to them on an emotional level, helping people overcome eating disorders, helping people walk away from antidepressants, helping people come out of very, very dark times mentally to create more robustness in their mind. We were doing that, but ultimately, the front door, the shop window said fitness, health and fitness, and it always has done. So at every reinvention of myself, my brand, and what I've done, fitness has always been at the core of it. And I've always felt like I have had an answer. I've always felt like I've known what to do. But for the first time ever, as I was developing things, I felt like I was running through the same playbook and I could almost see how things were going to go because I'd done it so many times. So I actually made a pact to myself in late 2024 when we started traveling, and I said, I'm not going to get more business help, I'm not going to get more mentorship. I want to actually work with someone that's going to help me go further into myself. Now at the time I didn't know anyone that can do that, because truthfully I'm a highly developed person, and I'm not saying this because I'm better than anyone, but because of the worlds that I was in, the people that I'd worked with, like my scope of knowledge, I felt like I knew that I was the big fish in the little pond, but I couldn't see where the next pond was. I was like, right, where's this person that's going to take me to there? And what actually happened is I ended up working with someone to help me develop my podcast, and their business ended up evolving into a large-scale agency that helped you scale your business. And the very thing that I didn't want, I ended up doing it. And about a team, at one point last year, I had 6 employees, 3 full-time including myself, and 3 other people that were part-time contractors that I was working with as well. It was crazy. My outgoings were through the roof and I was so stressed. I was so stressed last year. I got to the point where I had the most clients I'd ever have. Results were going left, right and center. We had people qualifying for world champs, people becoming recognized runners, people getting amazing results, people overcoming all these things, and it was amazing. But as I was doing this and building this life, I honestly felt like, is this it? And there was actually a point in July last year where the stress built up so much and a few other things happened all at once in my life. One of my friends being in a really rough spot, challenges going on with the team, and also bank issues with things out in Dubai. And honestly, like, I just completely broke down, and I went through this huge rebuild. And when we went back to Asia in August, late July, early August, I said to Ailey, I am making it my mission to go further into myself than I ever have. And it sent me on this quest of learning, exposing myself to certain people, developing techniques, breaking down parts of myself I never knew I had even going there. But actually, that journey that I went through is the exact journey I want to help more people on. People that get to this point where stress and fatigue and overwhelm is so high, and they've got everything on paper, and you don't know what the next move is. It's a rebirth that's required. You have to go through this journey that's so beautiful and so hard. It's a point where you're driving so much of your life with your ego. Now, everyone hears that word and they think of it being egotistical as a bad thing. Ego is identity. It's funny, I didn't really see myself as someone that was spiritual because I never really ID'd as that, but ultimately it led me down this massive journey of becoming more connected to myself and becoming very, very spiritual. And as a result of doing that and letting go of this old self, surrendering to the process and starting to reconnect with my intuition and follow my heart a lot more, because ultimately I'd stopped following my heart. Like, I followed my heart initially to leave the Air Force, to become a coach, to help people, to do something I was passionate about. But in the process of doing that, I almost stayed in this line in the sand. And I've become so fixed in it that my actual power and the skill set that I had as a coach was being masked by the branding concept that I built, which was meaning that so many of my clients were avoiding the correct conversations. I wasn't able to support them in a way emotionally and mentally, because here's the thing, right? Being truthfully honest, brutally honest, most folk are nowhere near equipped mentally and emotionally, physically, to get the type of results they want. They have too much trauma and they have far too much healing to go through. Why do you think so many folk can't lose the same amount of fat they've been trying to lose for the last 20 years? Why do you think so many people cannot get out their own way and they have the same feedback loops in their mind and they have these subconscious belief patterns and limiting beliefs they cannot move no matter how much personal development they do? It's a trap. You go down this rabbit hole of trying to stack more and more things on top, and what begins to happen is it just becomes another mask to essentially mask the void that you've never truly dealt with. And for me, this journey of stacking and stacking and stacking accidentally sent me down this rabbit hole, which I'm actually very grateful for, that realized that I had to stop trying to manipulate my way through things and do what I've always done, and I had to give up complete control. And I had to totally surrender to the situation. And it has been the most life-changing journey I've ever been on. I'm the most relaxed, calm, happiest, content I've ever been in my life. I'm in the best shape I've ever been in. I've got the most energy I've ever had. I feel the most creative I've ever felt. And the work I'm doing with my clients is the most groundbreaking work I've ever done in my life. Taking people through this exact same process, doing the inner work, doing the shadow work, because doing personal development is very different to doing inner work and shadow work. If you've been in business, or you've been doing this personal development thing, or you've been in a career where you've climbed the ladder and you're in your 30s or 40s and you're still suffering, it's you that needs to change. You have so much subconscious wiring in place that's keeping you fixed like this. It's not meant to be that hard. Like, you live a life that's meant to be joyful, fruitful, and great fun. When does that end, that hard sufferfest? I understand that business and doing well in your career and making a lot of money is hard. It's so tough to do, right? I am not denying that. But when does it get to the point that it actually becomes fun and joyful? Because so many folk are so disconnected for themselves. When it comes to high performance for me, what I've really done with Ready for Anything and this rebrand that we've went through is it's no longer about this like ruthless push mentality. It's about helping people that are successful on paper and have everything feel more connected to themselves so they can actually learn how to tap into universal energy and start pulling things towards them and live a life that isn't heavy and hard and suffer. I'm working with so many people that have so many hardwired beliefs and they wonder why they're stuck. They wonder why they can't get past this part with their health, this level of income. And it's because they're operating with so many limiting beliefs and so many fears that they're just trying to mask with an identity. Identity work is so important. It's so important to get into that flow, tap into that person and break past those barriers. But there comes a point where you have to deal with the undealt with trauma that is holding you back. The psyche that goes back to that child that grew up. The upbringing that you had from your parents, the experiences you had from the age of 7 onwards where your brain got trained and your nervous system got shaped. Because you can't just keep turbulently pushing your way through. You're going to break yourself and you're going to get to a point where you're either going to hit a massive mental breakdown, you're going to hit that many burnouts that you physically, chronically cannot do anymore because you're so mentally fatigued, or you're going to get to a point where you push through and when you hit that second crisis in your late 30s, early 40s, it's going to be terrible. It eventually gets to a point where you have to learn that there is a higher power within yourself, and trying to forcibly push your way through your life and trying to logic the arse out of everything you do isn't the answer. It's only going to get you so far. But if you're watching this right now and you're at a point where like you're doing the 5 a.m. alarms, you're doing the protocols, you're doing everything, you've done the 12-week whatever it is that many times, and you're still sitting there and you feel that there's a void, you're getting signals right now from the universe, or whatever you want to call it, the energy, if you're religious, Christianity, Jesus Christ, whatever, right? That you have to go deeper into yourself. You can't just keep doing this surface level way of operating and expect these life-changing worldly views to shift. You have to completely rewire and redetermine who you are as a person. So for us, the brand Ready for Anything, what it was, Ready for Anything in body, Ready for Anything in fitness, Ready for Anything to compete, has taken a full new identification. It's about being ready for anything in life, being someone that's calm, connected, lethal in everything they do. And lethal in everything you do isn't dysregulating yourself by doing a ton of exercise and exhausting yourself in this like constant hamster wheel cycle. It doesn't need to be like that. And you can be someone that's got more peace, more stillness in your life, and a great physique and great relationships, and someone that's a fantastic leader that's able to just connect with people on a level that you feel that you cannot even do anymore. And guess what happens when you start doing this? You start making more money, you start getting more opportunities, more people start coming your way, and surrendering is such a beautiful thing. So it gets to a point where you go through these levels of awareness and levels of consciousness where like step 1, 2, 3, 4 is getting to the point of flow. But if you're at that point right now and you're in step 5, you're in the valley. Like this is the valley, and what actually happens is the full core program needs to be reprogrammed. And you're at a point right now, if you're watching this in your late 20s, early 30s, maybe pushing into your 40s, like if you're resonating with this right now, no amount of personal development is going to change this. This is a full rewiring. This is a complete change in identity and learning to fully let go of the things that you've always held on to. We're getting clients come in that are doing amazing things in their life, but behind the scenes they're winning publicly, but they're losing privately because they're so mentally tired. And it doesn't have to be this way. It does not have to be this way. So where this came from has been a combination of my own journey, Ailey's own journey, and coaching well over 1,000 people over the last 9 years. And I honestly believe that when you're in this like space of coaching, all roads lead to the same place. And it goes back to ancient philosophy. This stuff isn't new. It's not newfound stuff. It goes back a very long period of time. But what I'm really helping people do now is become connected, high frequency, high vibrational people that start pulling things towards them instead of these people that are forcibly grinding their way through your life. It doesn't have to be that way, and it goes against everything that social media tells you of what it is to be a high performer. Being a high performer is someone that's deeply successful within themselves, understands themselves on a level where they can make sense of everything and there's no resistance and there's no friction. So yes, this is the mission that I'm on with Ready for Anything as we enter this new chapter, new era, and I'm so stoked to be taking people through this journey as well. So if you are interested in working with me, what I want you to do is hit the link below, drop me a message saying mindset, and we'll get talking about how we can actually help you. And do me a massive favor, make sure you've hit subscribe to the channel. Anyway, see you later, goodbye.